like to call to order the meeting of the Columbiana City Council for January 2nd, 2019. Could we all stand for the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance?
Lord, in faith you will give our council members the faith and courage to carry on their duties. Help them to do right, to deal fairly with others, and to place their trust in you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the roll call, please. Here. 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 Here.
Here. Noel?
Here.
Blakeman? Wood?
Here.
Hudson?
You all received the minutes for the meeting of December 18th, 2018. Are there any corrections or comments on those minutes? Hearing none, they stand as presented. We have no communications, no reports of boards of commissioners. We have one person who wishes to appear, Janet. Lifetime? Lifetime. Okay, sorry. Leadership Committee, Columbiana County, requesting permission to hold a 5K race. Would you like to come to the microphone and tell us your plan?
So I'm representing Leadership Columbiana County, and part of our, one thing we do is we try to do an event to raise awareness for something that's needed in our community. Homelessness is what we chose, and we're requesting permission to do a 5K race to raise some funds for homelessness. And we'd like to do it at the park, similar to the Special Night Before 5K on May 4th, 2018.
Have you checked with the police chief on?
Yes, I met with Chief Gladys last week, before Christmas. I met with the park board. They gave their approval. So my next step was to come to you.
Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Any further questions or comments?
We're still in the early planning stages. We meet again next week as a group, so hopefully we'll be able to iron out some of our final details then.
Is this the first time you've done a race with this group?
Yes.
Okay. Just one comment. We like people to use temporary markers for the race rather than painting on the highway and things like that.
Chief Gladys did tell me that.
Okay, great.
I think we got some of those already figured out.
Good.
Yeah, probably when you get down toward the end of it, touch base with the chief again and get everything solidified. So
I
that's the practice for.
Terry Schaefer too. I think we're on the right track.
What time of day do you plan to do?
Probably early morning, 8:30 or 9.
Okay.
People run that early?
That's a late start.
I live in that neighborhood, and it's always sort of an issue getting the cars out of the you have to go someplace before the race starts, because otherwise you cause traffic problems and everything. So,
just as a recommendation, I know we did for our race this year and last year, we put letters in all the mailboxes in the doorways and stuff like that along the route, just to let them know what time the race is starting. To give them a heads up and let them know what time to maybe avoid trying to be leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, we're coming back. Yeah, and that was greatly appreciated, by the way.
Okay. Thank you.
That was like I sure on is a bed.
Roll call on the motion, please.
Becker?
Yes.
Gladys?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Liston?
Yes.
Love?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Manager's report.
Okay. Civil service test for the dispatcher position, we changed that to January 19th, so hopefully we get, people interested this time around. We've had several meetings with the, in regards to the West Salem Street, stormwater project, and, that's going pretty well. On the agenda tonight, we have an updated deposit policy for the reservations in the park. I had Terry submit a proposal to Parks Board, and they went ahead and passed it, and we appreciate it if you do the same. It's just a lot of work the way that we have been doing it, and we hope, we're gonna try it out for a year, and, hopefully it works. It's just causing us a lot of time and, paper, so.
Out of all the reservations with park for the pavilions, how often do you have to keep it?
So I think we had to keep it last year probably 3 to 5 times, and then, previous years, right around the same.
That's not bad,
Yeah.
number of people in that.
Yeah. But, we had a deposit policy that was active for the last few years, and it seemed to be working, it just wasn't working on our end, in the office, so. On the agenda, we have a update, needed to update our credit card policy by law, there was House Bill, I think we discussed that in the fall, and, went found a boilerplate, legislation that, we placed on there for you to consider tonight. Street department, since the last meeting, they picked up a lot of leaves in the bags and piles, pretty much done. They did get, everywhere, twice. They did help with the playground at pavilion number 3, and, been patching holes and cleaning catch basins between the rings. And you made it out to the park, but, got a couple pictures here. Jeff Stoy and his, business and, the park and, street department all helped on that, so we really appreciate that. We really kept the budget down on that for us to, meet the budget.
Lance, before you skip to the next one, I happened to see somebody comment tonight on Facebook that their leave has not yet been picked up. If by chance somebody's been missed, do they just contact the city at this point? Do they need to?
Yeah, that's what they should do, and, we'll have, we look into it.
On the playground equipment that was just put in.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful job done.
Yeah.
Okay, my concern was, on the outside edge, here's the mulch on the inside, and there's that hard plastic drop, okay? Are we gonna feather that down at some point? Okay, take away any tripping hazards or something like that.
So then we process that paperwork for the Ohio Department of Natural Resources grant. They will reimburse us, it's almost $10,000, and then, R&B has, pledged $15,000, so we're gonna be turning that in early this year. Water Department, they've been working on the new plant, and, had an issue with the permanganate system leaking, but they got that up and running, and, they're working on the blow-offs of the drains, out there. But, pretty much getting everything in order out there. Wastewater Department, they, completed some, maintenance of the sewer line. They installed new, several level meters out there, the different tanks, and they're trying to bring some of the data that we have not collected before back to the SCADA system. And we also have been installing new transducers at EQ basin. Park and Cemetery, as I said, the top lot's finished. The Joy Christmas is complete, and they're taking down things. The weather's been pretty nice. We've been able to get some of the stuff down. We did get an update today on the pond dredging. they're gonna be, pumping that down in the next week or so and definitely get into it. We're really hoping for some cold weather, but, definitely mid-January will be there. Electric department, we've been working on some, phases of, electric out there, the development, the village of Charleston. And, we were called out on a primary underground, service for a commercial, and, we also had several rings come down on a couple power lines in the past couple weeks. To get back to the first part of my energy report, we've been talking about the CRA. We did receive that certification. We need to come up with a housing council, which, you all know, we talked about that. We did, accept applications, until, the 31st, and, did receive one that was in your packet, and then, we just received another one tonight, and, I just might make copies of the handed that out. So council needs to appoint, two, people, and they have to be residents. So, that's just some food for thought. And then since last meeting, you kind of tasked us to, take a look at the CRA. Mr. Saharic was in here talking about, his, potential development out there, in Old Saybrook. Since that meeting, we were able to come up with a draft, kind of an overview of the project, what it's gonna look like. We were able to contact the, Power Department of Administrative Services to help us with, development of services to help us out with some of the stuff. But, so in your packet was a, kind of a CRA 101, talks about what you need to do, how does it work if you're residential, and then how does it work if you're a business, and then, there's some details. We cut, A through E out of the ordinance and just cut and pasted that in there. So it's kind of, makes it a little easier for somebody that's in commercial, industrial, business to see what they have to do. And then, at the end of the meeting, Mr. McBain has given, Ross here, something from the, development agency, and I did find, that, and we did review that, to create an agreement for CRA for business. We created a form for that. We're gonna call that Form 2. Form 1 was the, general, I'll get back to Form 2. Form 1 was the general application that would be filled out by the, both the residential people and, residential applicants, and also the, business commercial. And then the, commercial would have to go on to, look at Form 2. And Form 2 has the 12-step process to get that done. If you continue on Form 2, have information that's necessary, that's gonna be needed to, consider a, CRA agreement. And then, as you notice, in the steps 1 through 12, it does discuss a, committee that, that we need to consider forming or have to form. It's called a negotiating committee, and in there, in your notes, it talks about how to do that. So, the residential application is a pretty cut and dry, easy, process. They're gonna come in to City Hall, get their, permit to build, and then when they're done, they'll also get their application at that point. And then they can bring their application in up to 1 year after they finish, the build, and then we can, process that. The commercial and the business is, a little different, as you can see with the Form 2 process. It's, quite involved, but,
all this, Lance, I just wanna make sure I understand, a business that comes in has to assure us that they're creating at least 2 new jobs. I know number 2 over here says, as requiring the creation or retention of at least 2 jobs. Does that mean retention, they would have been losing those people if the CRA was not? Because you could, pretty much any business can say that they're going to retain jobs just to get in instead of creating new ones. So I didn't know if there's a designation on.
That's gonna be a process, once the negotiation committee is formed, they're gonna be talking about these points. And it's, there's a lot of paperwork there. They talk about, qualitative and quantitative factors for the negotiated committee to, consider. And those are all gonna have to be selected, prior to that, so we can treat every business the same and probably put it in some type of spreadsheet.
And this negotiation committee is really important for us to set up as soon as possible so we can start processing any business applications. If you've seen in the packet, the people on the negotiating committee should be like Lance, because you can see he's the housing officer. We need a school district official. We need elected officials, county economic development officials, the county auditor, local business owners, and interested citizens with taxation or economic development policy. For the sake of time, I would like to throw out here at this point that we attempt to move on that as quickly as possible, and I'd make 2 quick recommendations: that Lance reach out to those various organizations that I've mentioned, the school, the county, the auditor, and try to see if they can place somebody, recommend somebody to be appointed to that committee. And I also recommend that any of the council members up here indicate to Lance within the next week if you are interested in serving on this negotiation committee, because I think it's crucial we have a city council person, on that committee, or at least hopefully more than one, as many as we can try to get on there. Because Chris was pointing out there's some very complex issues that we're going to have to deal with and work through, and we'll be ultimately responsible, once this thing gets set up. So it's nice to have representation from the table.
Yeah, I think that sounds good, because once we get done with that, it's eventually, that agreement's eventually going to go back to the state, the CRA development agency.
I kind of assumed that something like an apartment complex would be considered a commercial as opposed to a residential development.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, when I read through this, it doesn't exactly say that. I'm only suggesting that from a point of clarity. It might be.
And this is just a template to use. That's
yeah,
all.
no, I understand, but there was one place, I don't see it right now, where it talked about industrial, it listed examples.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the examples that ought to be included in it is an apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Just so there's no confusion between what is residential and what is commercial.
My question on that was, from last council meeting, they talked about duplexes. Where do a 3-family dwelling fall into? What category does that fall into?
Well, I think a duplex, if it's owner occupied, would be, you're renting one part of it, but when it's an apartment complex, that's a little bit different issue, I think.
Yeah, so the duplex, just to be clear, are all, the single family and dual dwellings are already covered, should not be covered under the Form 2.
They're covered residential.
They're covered on residential.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the straightforward ones.
Which, help me out here, the triplex
Anything over 2.
is commercial.
Right.
Okay. And when we had 2 applications, if we can get more, are we going to?
Totally up to you. For the housing council, so that the housing council, to be clear, is something different than this negotiating committee.
Okay.
So, the two names that we would have would be helping those other people that we've already placed, and they have to be regular things. And the housing council cannot act as a negotiating committee. Just to be, just to be clear, they can't do both things.
I would presume that even though we've received two names for the housing council, I guess it's called, that if anyone on council wished to approach or nominate someone in addition to those, they would be able to, because I don't think there's any formal process that says we have to receive a letter. I mean, that's the same for any time we request letters to fill positions. Council is not required by charter to follow that format. If we have other ideas and other people, we can always bring those up and add them into it. I just want everybody to understand that we have more options if we think we need them.
Yeah, the housing council is definitely important, as Rick said about the, you talking about the negotiating committee. I'd say the negotiating committee, we gotta get that up and running right now. You guys wanna reconsider, another 2 weeks on the housing council, I don't think that would be that big a deal, because, their duties are gonna be different, they're gonna be, down the road a little bit.
Yeah, they don't really have anything until after the first year of operation to inspect their report. And that's the limit. So, okay.
So the letter should have been for the housing council.
Correct.
I would like to see us be able to act at the next meeting on the negotiation committee. That's why I kind of said if we get that information to Lance, let him spearhead getting everything put together.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that if we wanted to make a motion that that's what we want on the agenda at the next meeting, we should probably do that, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Just that if you have any other information that you want included in here, clarity, you can get that in.
Yes. Yes.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
All right. Rob Shear, again, from Master Fund Builders. Just to clarify, just when ran the paper together. So, there's a lot of PUDs in town, and duplexes, and a lot of them, actually are there's multiple duplexes on one lot. So my understanding is that the structure, the permitting process is a single unit or duplex still falls under Form 1, even though there's multiple units on one lot. That's my understanding of the law, but I don't know, I just didn't know if Lance to confirm that or not, just for planning purposes.
Right, I hadn't thought about that, Ron.
I kind of assumed that it would be a duplex on a single lot rather than multiple duplexes on a single lot.
But the permit process is what the city involves, it's different, codes are different.
Right.
We follow the International Revised 2015 code for duplexes, and for threeplexes, we jump back to, follow the International Building Code for singles and duplexes, but we follow the High Revised Code for threeplexes. So, there's definitely not a gray area there. I can partition on separate lots. It just causes huge confusion. To get from point A to point B, I don't think I need to do that, but I just need to know that for planning purposes with Mr. Chamberlain. So if we're going to divide everything up into separate parcels, we can do that, but it just,
You need to know it ahead of time.
Well, just because we're just trying to, understand this process, in its entirety, and it's a very complex process. But, and we're a small town, but there's tremendous opportunity in 2019, and forecast for 2020 is not as good. So, looking at 2019, I just think that we need to, your councilman well said, time to go get them. So, but just that's one comment. If I have to reply them, we'll get reply them. I'm really good chopping up property, but we don't have to.
Who owns that property in a case like that?
The business owner, and not to get technical, but, you know, jobs to be looked at from, you know, multiple points of view. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is achieve income tax in the city, and that's really what we're after. So, the point that, you know, we're creating jobs, you know, we're actually creating, you know, a rental company that basically has, you know, mowing, and it has, trash removal, and it has, trimming, and it has gutter cleaning, there's all kinds of jobs that come with a rental property. So that's no problem. But also the business owner that owns the property creates additional revenue, and that revenue, is gonna get taxed because we're in city limits. So 1%, you know, I hope to make money from it, and when that happens, you know, we're paying 1% total tax, 1% property tax. And the savings actually on the CRA is gonna flow right in net profit. That's actually a taxable item. So, because it's not, it would have been an expense, and it's not, so again, it's falling in net profit. And, unless, the law is defined otherwise, I would assume that the PUD, just like in Old Saybrook, our single carriage homes account for their, you know, they each one has a property description. I just feel that it probably makes sense just to leave it on one parcel. It would save a lot of paperwork from the city's point of view, than having all these parcel numbers, that we're dividing up. So, you know, that, number one, and number two, the three plexes and stuff as far as, you know, the falling into the commercial side, which is no big deal. But again, I mean, there's multiple ways to design projects. It just makes sense in my instance, like I mentioned last week, that keeping that three plexes for the scope of the look of the community. But thank you.
Any other comments? Good, roll call please on the motion.
Doug?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Buck?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Anything else, Lance, from the manager's report?
Nothing I can think of.
Okay, I'll receive copy of the bill list. Are there any comments or questions on the bill list? Hearing none, there is no old business. We have two items of new business. Due to the length of the ordinances, in fact, you all received copies before the meeting. Could I have a motion to read them by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Buck?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Okay, first item, ordinance number 19-02992, first reading. An ordinance amending section, 1062.07B4, section of 106207 of the codified ordinances of Columbiana, Ohio, regarding, rental rates in the recreation park and repealing all other ordinances in conflict herewith.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call?
Wilson?
Yes.
Buck?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes. Ordinance number 19-02993, first reading. An ordinance approving and adopting a credit card policy of the city of Columbiana, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
There's two cards issued,
Only two cards.
only two cards issued, so you and Mike.
Right.
Are there plans to potentially issue any additional ones beyond that?
No.
And so if we have a, employee that needs to purchase something that we don't have an account active with
Just do it
that,
from our office.
get them paid.
Okay.
Ted, most of the time we use the credit cards for travel, for people who go to, for hotels, people who go for training,
Mhm.
classes, that's the majority of the use. So every once in a while, something comes up where they can find something on Amazon, they can get it the next day, and they can, it's cheaper, and, so that's what, we'll use it for something like that too.
Well, if an employee uses it for travel, usually you have to have the card to back it up when you.
Well, most hotels, we make the arrangements before they go,
Okay,
and we send them a copy of it.
All right.
They'll take a copy of it, and, so then any other expense on it while they're there, like meals and travel, they'll get reimbursed for it, they'll have to pay for it, and then get reimbursed once they turn the receipts in,
okay.
yeah.
It works pretty efficiently. We used to get twice for mayor's work training.
Yeah.
And, you just show up to the hotel, they already have it on record. They usually ask you for another card to cover incidental expenses that you might have at the hotel. And then when you check out, they give you a copy of the receipt, you put it back to the city, and you have the other copy for yourself for your own expenses.
Yeah. And what brought this about, there was a House bill, I think it was 312, passed on November 2nd, and we had to pass a credit card policy by February 2nd, if you did not have one, which we didn't, because what we had before was a debit card, which comes right out of your bank account. And the same House bill outlawed the use of debit cards for municipalities. And so we had to stop using the debit card, and then we got a new credit card, and then had to do a policy. So that's what brought all that about.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Brooks?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Souter?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to address council on any other issues? Hearing none, we'll move to council comments. Hearing no comments,
Dick, I have one. I didn't know if Lance was gonna say it. We just, showed up in the mail today, we got a donation from Vivo Brothers for $1,000, and $500 was to go to the police department, and $500 was going to go to the fire department. So we'd like to thank the Vivo Brothers.
great.
Very nice.
Good. Okay, hearing no comments, move to adjourn.